From being a gastronomical delight to marine life, sharks have been a majestic underwater mammal of fascination for hundreds of years. Today it surfaces for a reason less dynamic. Sharks are rapidly depleting in numbers, largely owing to overharvesting. 100 million sharks are caught yearly all over the world. If this trend continues unchecked, this could be the closest that anyone will be able to view the sharks in its natural habitat, in an aquarium away from the fishermen's nets. In the Asian countries, shark's fins fetch good prices. An average size fin of 16 inches is sold for about $200. The dive community is appalled by this and has joined international efforts to save the sharks. Here in Sabah, divers are collecting data by logging the number of sharks they see during each dive. Marine biologist Steve Oakley takes an educational approach with his Green Connection aquarium that exhibits sharks, turtles, and other marine life that make up the beauty of the underwater world.
December last year and January of this year, another group did a lot of dives around Sabah, and with taking their information and the information from the dive resorts all the way around the coast, we've come up with a picture of how many sharks have been lost. And the answer is we've lost 98% of the sharks that were here in '96 that are not here anymore. So reef sharks in shallow water are seriously depleted. China has become a rich, affluent nation, and shark fin soup has a reputation as being an expensive dish to sell, to show that you're a wealthy person. More and more people are buying shark fin. More and more fishermen are deliberately targeting sharks because of the fins.
Malaysia is ranked as one of the top 10 countries that contributes to the depletion of sharks. International Union for Conservation of Nature (IUCN) and Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species (CITES) have determined that sharks need protection. Many countries, including Hawaii in the US, have imposed a ban on sharks. Over the past few years, the campaign picked up with the Say No to Sharks groups from various countries supporting each other over the internet. Their focus is to discourage people from consuming shark's fin soup, the one big contributor for the depletion. And they need to understand the role of sharks in the ecology of the underwater world. Recently, this effort has become more urgent as divers in the Mabul Island, another popular dive site near Sipadan, witness regularly the massacre of sharks as fishermen sliced off their fins in the jetty at the doorstep of their homestays. We followed Kirk Kin Leong, founder of the Facebook group Save the Shark from a Bowl of Soup, on his mission to seek the truth about shark finning in Mabul. He met up with Ruben, a Spanish dive instructor, to hear his experience.
Snack time in the afternoon, when we realized that there was one boat coming with only one shark. What we could see in the beginning, it was a really big shark, really nice, and they just parked the boat in front of the resort. All the tourists were here just wondering what's going to happen with the shark. Everyone is speaking about it, but they didn't do anything. In 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, something like that. Then it was dinner time. It was a bit later, and they used the beginning of the night to start working. And then they removed the net they had behind, and they had like 12 or 13 more sharks there. We've seen a big one day, like 17 sharks on the beach were finning, and it was all the beach full of blood.
But that afternoon, the fishermen were alerted to the attention they were drawing and postponed the finning till after dark. Kirk saw for himself the massacre.
It's about 6:45 p.m. Someone actually called me and saying that someone's actually shark finnings in one of the village, and actually I rushed over to that site with my camera in, and I managed to see about 6 or 7, about 7-footer sharks on land, and about another 4 or 5 in the water. Those already being finned. So I went in and checked it out and took some pictures. The villagers are quite friendly, but the thing is, like, when I turned off my camera, one of the guy who actually speak pretty well English and said, the photos that you're going to take, he requested me not to share with anybody because that they say it could be, some say it's illegal, some say, you know, or not, and they say that it's only for your personal use and not to share with anybody else. The guy actually shows some concern that it could be illegal, or someone is actually against shark finnings in Mabu. The fisherman is actually cutting off the sharks on board, and they actually cut off the fin. They cut off the head and take off the teeth. They actually clean up the teeth for sale, for decorations, and they actually dump the body back to the sea.
However, beyond the gates that separate the homestays, guests at the more luxurious 5-star resorts are isolated from these frequent massacres of sharks finning.
We have seen a lot of smaller sharks, about a meter and a half size, generally white and black tipped. Reef sharks, but the bigger ones, they were far down in the dark blue. You were able to see them, but you were not really able to get quite close to them. That's what we found out this time. But the turtles were very, very nice. Yeah, they came up very close, and you weren't really able to disturb them, and they let you come quite close.
They continue to enjoy the marine life around the artificial reef created by Sipadan Mabul Resort.
We only read from the newspapers. That's why all the operators, we did a meeting for it, and then we just bring to the district level.
And what did they do?
They will enforce it, hopefully.
But meanwhile, the activity is still going on.
The activity is still going on. I think it's not affected with it.
Kirk is supported by a huge online community. Ederic Chong, based in Kota Kinabalu, is passionate and committed to this cause. He has roped in his friends from Junior Chambers International to adopt this campaign. He has also met with Datuk Masidi Manjun, the Science, Tourism and Environment Minister, to lobby for sharks finning to be banned. After the meeting, the minister announced that there will be no shark's fin soup to be served at all ministries' functions. A small but significant step to push the campaign forward.
We have definitely made some impact. Local newspapers have picked it up. Our tourism minister has picked it up and say it's about time for them to say no completely. Yeah? The public is reading the newspaper and is getting the awareness that we want to put it out to them. Yes, we have made an impact, but the main point here is we need to make an impact to the sharks. We need to let them come back in numbers.
Activists campaigning for the ban on sharks seem to be swimming against the tide, as technically it is not illegal to fin sharks. And with the government targeting to bring in 25 million tourists this year, they cannot move fast enough to promote their campaigns. They continue to knock on doors of City Hall, Chinese chambers, Fishery Ministry and academics to lobby for sharks to be listed as protected animals.
We have a Fisheries Act 1985 which covers the all type of fisheries in Sabah and in Malaysia. But under that act, there is no specific mention, unlike, for example, marine mammals, or specifically mention marine mammals should not be fished out or caught, but no specific mention on that you cannot catch sharks. So with research, it will help government to
come up with the policy that we can suggest to the government with the research.
Most of the shark finning are actually carried out opportunistically. I'm saying that because when the sharks are caught together with the other fishes, because there is a ready buyer or ready market for shark fins, so any fisherman would fin off the fins from sharks. It doesn't matter what size they are. But the concern is that yes, we do notice that the Since we started our work about 10 to 15 years ago, the size of the sharks are getting smaller because they caught the big size earlier on.
The depletion of sharks is a major concern for University Malaysia Sabah in their research on sustainable tourism.
In view of the key trend of tourism industry in Malaysia is on its way up, it becomes important for the UMS to select the niche of our research area in this sustainable tourism. The rise in tourist arrivals comes with, of course, with the complex interplay of social, cultural and also environment dimensions, yeah? And we should take into considerations in this matter. One of it is on shark conservation.
Unfortunately, according to Professor Dato Rizwan Abdul Rahman, banning sharks finning has many economical effects on the fishermen.
Finning can be reduced if there is something better for them to do, what we call alternative livelihood. And in the state of Sabah, there are attempts to actually introduce alternative livelihood to the fishing community. You have heard of seaweed farming, and of course it takes quite a while for people to get used to seaweed farming when they are not used to. So introducing seaweed farming to people will also take quite some time. Aquaculture or fish in cages, you know. Sabah is famous for its live fish trade. People come to Sabah to enjoy fresh, live seafood. And if you are going to depend on what you call fish from the wild in the future, they are going to face the same fate as a shark. So the best way is to culture them and then provide means of income to the local fishermen rather than going out to the sea.
On a less academic note, Steve Oakley makes his appeal.
We would like the sharks to be protected, certainly reef sharks, and the rare, the unusual should be protected in the same way as turtles and tigers and rhinos. The fact that we can go and see sharks in this generation is fantastic. We would like to make sure that my children and their children can also go and dive with sharks and see them into the foreseeable future. It's a very sad thing if we wipe a species off the planet simply to cook a bowl of soup.